of all, let's talk about the dog walker in and of itself.
Yes.
You have been working in the indie circuit for a little while now. So as an actress, when somebody comes to you and says, we have this feature and it's a little bit avant-garde, a little bit out of the ordinary, first of all, tell me what it was that intrigued you most about picking this particular character. Because for some reason, I could see you playing the lead role, the other lead role, instead of yourself. So for one, why this role, why this movie?
I've been working with the writer and director, Kylie, and the lead actor is Robin. We had formed a company together and we had done 2 short films before this. And we had another feature in development. And then we wanted to try to get a little more experience doing another feature before we sort of delved into the first one. And this, interestingly enough, wasn't going to be a feature at first.
Really?
It was sort of like a little pet project. Kylie had written it, we read it, we thought it was interesting. Kylie actually cast me in this role and felt like it would be a challenge that I was up to. And at first I was surprised, but I loved it. And then thanks to Robin and her husband, they decided they would be executive producers and this needed to be a feature. We need to go all out and really produce this the way it should be. And that's kind of how it came out. And it was crazy. Kylie had to rewrite scenes and turn it, into a feature. And we were in pre-production for about a month or 2. Quickly did the rest of the casting. We kind of already knew the main characters, who they would be, and we did the rest of the casting. And went into production, did it in 2 weeks.
Oh my God.
It was very fast.
Wow.
It's exciting.
One of the things that I don't get to ask a lot, which I wish I would more, is there's a whole lot of females running around here, which is awesome. You've got a female writer, you've got a female director, you've got a female lead, you've got you, obviously, playing in a lead role as well. Is it your preference? Because some women are very comfortable in girl power, and that's wonderful. And then there are some women that are like, you know what, working with men or a mixed crowd is lovely. So talk a bit about having an all-female, basically all-female type run production, and how that impacted you. Period.
So empowering. It really is. Again, I'm fairly new to this. I've only been doing it about 6 years, and this was my first feature. Yeah, so I am new to it, but being around strong women who have, a vision of wanting to succeed in this industry and kind of stepping forward and doing that and creating their own work, because someone my age, it's not easy. You kind of come into it and you think well, my age, what am I going to do? I'm not going to find a lot of roles except for maybe a mom or this or that, like I was telling you earlier. So having someone write strong female characters is empowering, and it's fun to get to play that and do that in an environment with strong women, like-minded women that want to see you on the screen and see you write and produce your own work.
And I don't know Robin too well, but I can say just based on looking at this and thinking to myself, I was like, oh my God, is she intimidating? Because I was like, oh my God, I'd be afraid of her. Maybe it's just me, but I'm like, I would totally be afraid of her.
No, not at all.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right, let's talk about the males in the film, because obviously they complement the film, Will in particular, and I know that some of the judges that we've had that looked at the film have really pointed out Will's performance in terms of some of the things that he brings not only Robin's character, but to the story as a whole. Mm-hmm. So talk to me a bit, because Will's not here, unfortunately, about your experiences working with him, because he just really seems to accent the entire thing very well. At one point I was like, okay, I feel really bad for him, and then at a certain point I'm like, do I really? You know what I mean? I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Will going on. So talk a bit about that character you would.
So Matthew Prawley, the actor who plays Will, we go back since we first did our first sort of sizzle reel teaser, if you will, for the original feature we were talking about. I was casting my love interest for that, and came across his headshot and resume, and obviously he's a good-looking guy. I was like, okay, yeah, I could see that being my love interest. Why not? And we did a one-day scene where we got to kiss a lot, and then got to know him, because I needed a few drinks to get to do the kissing scene, to get my nerve up. So we got to know each other really well and clicked, and he was lovely on set, and we were like, we need to work with him again.
Sure.
And so our next short film, we cast him as my love interest again. I might have had a little something to do with that. But the more we worked together, I mean, we saw that there was such a chemistry and camaraderie, not just the two of us, obviously, but with Robin, with Kylie, we all just really gelled well together. And when this script came around and this production, it was like a no-brainer that we needed Matt to play Will.
Absolutely.
He just brings the mystique and stoicness, like you were saying before. He's great.
Almost like mystery to some extent. Not that your character doesn't as well, but there's some mysterious element to him, obviously. So since you brought up the elephant in the room, so let's bring that up, because I've always wanted to ask an actor this. So here you are, you have a very attractive actor on the other side, and you have to work with him, and like you were saying, she needed a few drinks. But I mean, I can only imagine, I mean, is it a bit intimidating? Because I'm here to tell you, the first time that I acted, because I'm not an actor at all, they keep trying to turn me into an actor. So the first time he and I acted together, it was petrifying for me. I was terrified. I was like, oh my gosh, because when you're working with other actors of good caliber and you feel insecure or nervous or whatever have you, it has an effect on things. So how do you overcome that? And this might be just something as an acting tool. How do you overcome working with someone who is that intimidating or attractive, or how do you get beyond that point and be able to do what you need to do without sabotaging yourself too much?
You gotta remind yourself it's a job and you're acting. I know it sounds like it's cliche and cheesy, but I mean, the first time, like I said, I needed a couple of drinks. It was my first time on set doing anything like that, and it was a total stranger. This time around, I mean, you're working with actors that you get to know, and you think about the storyline and what is this character feeling in this moment? Is she excited? Is she anxious? Is she nervous? And try to get out of your head as, I'm not Orly right now on this character live, and you try to just think of it in that way and be in the moment. And forget that there's like 7 other people in the room and camera in your face. I used to laugh when I would hear actors interviewed about love scenes and the intimate, like, sex scenes. And you're like, how can they do that? And I still don't know how I can do anything like that, but I get it. I get a little bit of that because you do have to disconnect yourself from that.
Well, we were just talking, and you guys weren't present for the conversation, but we should get into this. I mean, for your portrayal, it took some work, and you have to slip into that character, and we won't reveal what sort of character for those that haven't seen it, but the reality is it did take some work, I'm guessing, some dedication and some preparation. So, as I mentioned to you earlier, talk a bit to your audience about how challenging it was to become a role, to envelop into this role, and then even more so, how do you get out of the role once you're completed with it?
I did do some research. I don't want to give away too much, but I did look at certain genres, certain films in particular, that I could kind of get into that mind frame of what this character would be like. And then just think about, if it was me, what would trigger these emotions? What would it take for someone to get to certain points to feel these emotions? It surprised me. I had to really let go and get out of my head to get there. The day, certain scenes in particular, really afterwards, it was like an out of body experience. Yeah, kind of like afterwards, I remember they yelled cut, and we were done. We wrapped for the day, and I had to step off set, and I just felt like this overwhelming. I just started bawling. I remember Robin was crying. It's like a release all of a sudden. And, Kylie and Robin and I had to have like a little group hug to kind of say, wow, like we really did this. And and speak for Robin, I know her character had a lot of intense scenes as well, and I know she was here. She'd tell you it took days for her to kind of snap out of those emotions. For me, it didn't take as long, but it does kind of stay with you for a couple of days, and you have to kind of get yourself out of that mind frame and say, all right, that was a role, and that's that. Next.
When I watched the movie, one of the things, and maybe I'm just crazy, but one of the things that I observed was your particular character, and again, I don't want to give away too much, but in some ways I almost feel like you want to be somewhat like Robin. I mean, obviously, in some ways or even more ways than you want to admit, which is ironic considering how the film plays out clearly, but Is that true, and was that your intention to try to show the audience in some ways that, yes, I want to be more like Rob?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that my character had a tremendous amount of jealousy and wanted that life, wanted the attention that she was getting, wanted success that she got. And I think that was a sort of a single white female, kind of aspect to it. Like, really wanting to be like your friend, wanting to be your friend.
Well, and I forgot to ask this to Kylie, so I do have to ask. Did you shoot it in the city, or was this out of the city? I can't recall.
We shot
location-wise.
everything was shot in Manhattan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Our apartments, we lucked out with locations, friends that were willing to give us locations.
Well, thank God. I was just going to ask about that, because when we've been talking to filmmakers, they're like, we don't want to go in the city, because we all know, obviously, that filming in the city is very challenging. Permits and costs and things like that. So I always have admiration for people like, oh my God, did they actually do that and film in the city? So kudos to you on that.
Yeah,
because that's tough.
blessed.
That end scene, where did that take place? Because I'm like, you had to find somewhere spatially big enough to accommodate all of that.
That warehouse, thanks to my brother, who does security in the Bronx, he hooked us up with a client of his who had an empty warehouse, and we connected with the owner and the leasing company and got permission to shoot one weekend in the Bronx. It was creepy, and it was,
It looked creepy. I was like, no.
Great scene. We had some great shots.
Oh, absolutely. Now, the one thing that confused me was I kept trying to figure out, okay, does she have, I see the chemistry that you're trying to work with her boyfriend or her former boyfriend or however. I wonder if there was any real interest. I saw the whole where you guys hooked up with one another, but in reality, was your character really even interested, or was it just kind of another way to get to?
I think it was a combination. The backstory we delved into was that all of us were in college together. The three of us were great friends, and I was the third wheel. There was a night of, where my character and his character hook up. And it's the mistake that she reversed to, sort of.
Yes.
And that's what led me to break up.
Okay.
So there is a sense of my character really kind of lusting after him and wanting him, but part of it because, Samantha really wanted him.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it seems a bit confusing to me, because I was kind of like, I wasn't 100% sure how that was all going. So I thought, all right, let's just clarify that.
Yeah.
Tell me something that now, looking back at this, would you have changed your character? Is there anything direction-wise or writing-wise or otherwise where you would have been like, I wish they would have let me do this or this? Or are you quite satisfied now, looking back, as you've mentioned, you hadn't done this before?
Yeah, I'm sure if you could go back, there's probably a ton of stuff I would, especially as an actor, I think most actors, I don't know, Michael might be able to, you're never really happy with your scenes. You're kind of like, I wish I had done this, or so I would go back and I would try to reshoot a couple.
Really?
Yeah, that's just me. I'm kind of nitpicky, and I look at it and go, why did I do that? I should have said it that way. But in general, I'm thrilled with the way it turned out. I'm really proud of this film.
And one of the things that my judges noticed was, they were like, is she aware of the fact that she's as funny as she is that other thing I can't mention? Meaning, did you inject the humor on purpose, or was it just coincidental?
No, it was a little bit of trying to bring a little me into the character.
Okay.
And not that I'm like that funny, but my friends were known. But it was trying to inject a little humor and lightness to balance my character out.
The one thing that I thought about was, and hopefully this doesn't give away too much, Hitchcockish. I totally was like Hitchcock. I was like, there's some little element of Hitchcock here. And maybe it was just me. I interpret things a little different.
Did you ask Kylie about that? She is related to Hitchcock. Go back a few generations. I can't tell you specifically. I don't recall how, but yes.
It's kind of badass, though.
It's
actually.
very cool.
Wow,
it's very cool. And that
cool.
was definitely in pre-production and working on the script. I remember having discussions with her about not just how it was written, but how it would be shot, and it was very Hitchcock-ish.
Absolutely.
That was definitely something we had in mind.
Now, I can't even name how many times they've been nominated, won things, etc. Do you have any head count at this point?
Oh gosh, nominations, I had a lot. It's hard. God, it sounds so terrible. I've lost count.
That's a good thing, though. It's a good problem to have.
We are official selections in 8 festivals thus far, and we won 6 awards. I know Matt just got nominated for Best Supporting Actor at a festival coming up in Ohio. So maybe that'll be the 7th. Yeah, but it's been exciting.
Oh, I bet.
We still got a few more to hear from.
Yes. Now, at this festival, we are all about shameless promotion 24/7. So, outside of the dog movie,
Yes.
what else is going on in your life?
What else is going on? Been doing a lot of voiceover, kind of dabbling in that as well, which is exciting and fun. And also wrapped up some commercials that hopefully you guys will see soon. And I've, fingers crossed, got a chemistry read next week for another feature. So
Very cool. Very
fingers
cool.
crossed.
So I was going to cut this, but I know Michael has mentioned, amongst others, that I should probably tell you what I think and let that roll onto the camera. So I'm going to tell you what I think of your film,
Okay.
and then we'll cut it. One of the most engaging things about your movie is it keeps my attention. For those of us who have been artists, and in this case I've been a writer for 30 years, so I'm highly ADHD. So I get bored within like 10 minutes. So it's very hard for me to stay captivated. And for this movie, it wasn't a challenge. I was extremely drawn in and kept drawn in for various different reasons. As some of you have already mentioned, the cinematography is well above average, and I wish I could say that for every film that I've ever seen. But cinematography is key in a lot of components for me. Casting is extremely important to me. You have a lot of strong figures in this movie, clearly, and you know this. There's a lot of strong characters that are portrayed, and they're portrayed very well. None of you make very obvious mistakes. That's a very good thing for me, now that I've been judging for a while, and my other judges. Sometimes, it's easier to pick out flaws. Sadly, we're all flawed, but sometimes in a performance you can see some of the negative things. In this performance, for every single one of you, there's very little to no negative to point out. It's pretty rare that I ever have an opportunity to say that. I love the writing, and for me, being a writer, that's one of the things that stands out more than anything else. But most importantly, it's a story that everybody has heard about before. One of the things I find interesting is it's as much about the dynamics of the character as it is about the total topic, meaning that one thing, talking about the dog and the essence of the whole dog thing is just as important, but you're not really toting that flag on one side of the fence versus this. It equally balances itself all together. It's a lovely production. I mean, I won't lie to you, I was very, very proud to be able to show it again. I've watched it multitudes of times. But oftentimes I think founders and people in our position just never get to really tell you what we think. And I represent myself and 4 of the judges, so I think you should know what you think. And I mean, not that it should be a shock to you, but of course it's a kick-ass film. That's what it really comes down to. It's a kick-ass film.
It's awesome to hear.
Absolutely.
So humble to hear that. Thank you so much.
So now you can cut it. So